Good morning, scumbags, and welcome to Vote of No Confidence. I'm Andrew Fantasia, and
I am Rob McDonald.
That's right, he's Rob McDonald, and we are here today to put forth a vote of no confidence. Here's how this show works, if you haven't seen it before. Rob and I have each been given a topic, basically an argument with two sides, and a coin was flipped. And so Rob was given one side of the argument and I was given the other side. We might not necessarily, this might not be what we actually believe, but we were just told to argue this side of the point.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, this is called Vote of No Confidence. So we are essentially senators of the Republic Senate, more or less, and you guys are the actual senators. You guys are, the group of people, and you're going to decide as to whether something should go one way or the other way. So we're going to give you our points, and then you're going to decide. You watch the video, you decide in the comment section below.
And today's topic is a very heated one.
Oh yeah,
this is going to get us all riled up. Today's topic is Rey a Mary Sue?
Yeah, it's one that was talked about definitely quite a bit. Certain videos from certain people have gotten a lot of flack for having their opinion about this, and I mean, it's one that I think does have both sides to it.
It does. It's a very it's a point where both sides can really, there's a lot of meat to chew on either way. Mm-hmm. So you will be arguing for?
I think she is a Mary Sue,
and I strongly disagree. So we're going to bring this to the Galactic Senate right now. Mr. McDonald, you have the floor, sir.
All right. So I think to decide as to whether she is or is not a Mary Sue, the very first thing I had to look up was, what is the definition of a Mary Sue? If you go to Wikipedia, this is the one that it says right there. So it says, a Mary Sue is an idealized and seemingly perfect fictional character, a young or low-rank person who saves the day through unrealistic abilities. So, but if you're going by that definition, I think she definitely has several moments in the movie Force Awakens that completely support that fact. That she's seemingly good at almost everything that she tries to do in the movie. She is good at flying. She is good at, she seems to know every part out of everything that within the Millennium Falcon. She is, when she uses the Force for the first time, she uncovers so many different things. She's able to mind trick somebody with on her first try. She defeats Kylo Ren, who is one of the most powerful characters in that movie, in a lightsaber fight. Even though she seemingly has no lightsaber trade. Sure, she has a staff, but she's just so good at everything. There's almost nothing that she does not excel in that movie.
Well, those are very valid points, Mr. McDonald. Well, ladies and gentlemen of the Galactic Senate, let me ask you this question. We've had 2 Star Wars trilogies so far, both of them featuring a Skywalker boy in the starring role. One was named Anakin, the other was named Luke. When we met both of these boys, they were both exceptionally gifted pilots. Anakin was 9 years old, and he could fly a pod racer like no one else in the galaxy. He was the only human who could do it, something he bragged about to get into Padme's pants very early on. He was planting those seeds. He could build a protocol droid, which is not an easy thing to do. And again, he was 9. Luke Skywalker is already, when we meet him, an excellent pilot. Obi-Wan tells him, I've heard you become quite a good pilot. Biggs Darklighter tells the captain of the Rebel Alliance there in the base that Luke is the best bush pilot in the Outer Rim territories. Luke is a spectacular pilot, and he uses the Force during the Battle of Yavin for the first time in his life to guide his proton torpedoes into the Death Star reactor shaft and blow the whole thing up and save the day. So my argument is, where was the Mary Sue hate for Anakin and Luke? Why are they not Mary Sues? I mean, they did some crazy stuff with no training. Luke had about maybe 2 hours of lightsaber deflecting training on the Falcon. That's about it. He never really puts that to use until the second movie anyway. So if we're going to call Rey a Mary Sue, we can't be hypocritical about it. We got to go back and we got to call everybody a Mary Sue. And I don't think that's the case, because I think it was put forth very clearly in both of those trilogies that these are exceptionally gifted people who are incredibly strong on the Force. They got lots of damn midi-chlorians, which is important. So they can do things that maybe the rest of us might have some trouble with. And even though we've seen them excel, we see them excel at a cost. There always is a struggle. Rey had to try a few times before she could get that stormtrooper to fall for her mind trick. And that's just a stormtrooper. That's not even somebody of, high caliber mind. Rey also had parts of her brain kind of opened up by Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren has the ability to sort of force read your mind. He looks into Poe's brain and he finds out where the plans are. And then he tries to do the same thing to Rey. Except Rey kind of turns it into this mental tug-of-war. And she pushes back. And suddenly she's seeing things in his brain without even realizing how. She's seeing his faults and his insecurities and his fears. And I think that sort of tug-of-war, which happens right before the mind trick, awakens, see what I did there, parts of the Force in her mind. And that kind of explains why all of a sudden she's doing forceful things that she probably didn't do before. And the final example I want to bring up is another little character, because remember, Rey has a past that is shrouded in mystery. We never see her past, and her past being a mystery is part of the allure of her character. It's sort of a point. It's like, hey guys, here's this character. One of her things is we don't know what her deal is yet. We don't know where she came from, who she's involved with. So she very well could have had training that we didn't see, because the other character that I'm going to bring up today, who is not from the Star Wars universe, but is somebody who's very popular and very good at everything, and that is a Mr. James Tyrone Bond.
That's a legit middle name, right?
That's a legit little name.
The Ian Fleming.
Tell me one thing that James Bond cannot do. Why can he do all these amazing things? Because he's had training. We don't see the training, but we know it happened. We don't see Rey training, but who knows? Maybe she did at one point.
So I'm gonna hit on that stuff towards the end. Obviously, we're not talking about James Bond, so I'm just gonna throw that to the side, right? We're not talking about that part. Let's go back to talking about Rey, and specifically as to what her past could be. And could be is a strong term that we could use at this time, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously, we can only use the evidence that we have right now. And I think as to this one movie, she has plenty of reasons why, like, she doesn't have reasons as to why she could do that. Those reasons could be explained later, and perhaps that will negate as to my stance as she is a Mary Sue. But as of right now, her past and how much training she's had, that's just conjecture really at that point, because that doesn't apply. As to you describing both Luke and Anakin as, strong characters, and that they're, I think the male version of Mary Sue is supposed to be Gary Stu or something.
Oh, is that an actual thing?
This is part of one of the things I read up. So yeah, just a funny little play on words, I suppose. But regardless, back to Anakin and Luke. First, Anakin. Yeah, he's a very skilled pilot, right? Like he builds C-3PO. He's the only human that can pod race and whatnot. And yeah, at the end he flies one of these guys right there at the end, right into battle. And yeah, he destroys one of the ships, but there's still several things that he didn't do to the extent that Rey did them. If he grabbed the lightsaber and he was the one that took down Darth Maul, then he's totally a Gary Stu. He's without a doubt one of those characters. But in this one, he's kind of more toned down. And then when you get him starting to do the more amazing things as an actual Jedi, is however many years it is between Attack of the Clones and Phantom Menace. I can't remember. It's 14? 10? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so 10 years afterwards, that's when he's, obviously got the training. He's pretty much just as good as Obi-Wan is as a lightsaber fighter. And regardless, as for Luke, yeah, he may have definitely destroyed the Death Star in an amazing way, using the Force to guide the ion torpedoes, much like the Gold Leader was not able to do. Sorry, it was Red Leader. Was it Red Leader or was it Gold Leader? I can't remember.
You know what? I feel like it could have been Gold Leader, because I think he got close enough to do it. But
yeah, I couldn't remember. But regardless, he throughout that movie, he wasn't being thrown into these like unbelievable scenarios. Like he fought Tusken Raiders at the beginning, and they kicked his butt. Mm-hmm. But Rey, the first time she's fighting somebody in Force Awakens, she completely kicks their butt. Like there's a big difference there between what Rey does in Force Awakens and what he does there. And even towards the end, when he destroys the Death Star, he needs help. She doesn't need help to beat Kylo Ren. She does it all by herself. Meanwhile, he probably would have died had it not been for Han Solo and the Millennium Falcon showing up when they did. The Death Star probably would not have been destroyed if it wasn't for Han Solo intervening towards the end of A New Hope. So, yes, he has some unbelievable things that he does there too, but afterwards, it goes 3 years later for Empire Strikes Back before there's training there to be had in between those two movies. And that's obviously that training point that you could see why he was able to fight Darth Vader at the end of Empire Strikes Back. So he has a better understanding of the Force at that point. And his trainer, the person that was instructing him, was Obi-Wan Kenobi, arguably one of the greatest Jedis of all time. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, yes. Meanwhile, in Force Awakens, all that she really gets in terms of like guidance into what the Force is from Maz Kanata, who does understand the Force, but we don't know her backstory, but arguably she probably does not understand the Force as well as Obi-Wan does.
Right.
Arguably.
I think those are some very valid points you bring up. Mm-hmm. I will argue that Luke Skywalker, to your point about fighting the Sand People versus Rey sort of fighting Unkar Plutt's goons and how she came out on top, I think that upbringing had a lot to do with it. Remember, Luke was a farm boy. Luke grew up, dusting crops and fine-tuning moisture evaporators. So as soon as you got a monster coming at him with an axe...
Shooting Womp Rats, though, too.
Shooting Womp Rats, true. But as soon as he's out in the middle of the desert and somebody's coming at him with a big stick going... he's probably... I would faint, too. I would faint. Whereas Rey she lives day by day. Rey is constantly in fear of being attacked, of having her home broken into, because she is basically homeless, squatting in an AT-AT. She lives on a much more... Tatooine's a dangerous place. That's not even an argument. But Jakku is a much more ferocious, miserable upbringing to have. She has to fight for every meal she gets. I mean, with the Star Destroyer we see her in at the beginning when we first are introduced to her, we don't see it happen, but there's a lot that she probably had to go through to be the one to get in there and find what's worth salvaging, because that desert is crawling with scavengers who will try to do the same thing. So she is constantly kind of living by her wits. She's this small girl on this like rough planet, so she's got to learn to be scrappy to defend herself, because I can't even imagine how many times she's walked away from Unkar Plutt's junk shop with her portions of food to have some like ninja guy come up and try to steal her food from her because survival of the fittest, whereas Luke has a much more domestic upbringing. So I can kind of understand how Rey would learn to kind of kick some ass if she needs to, because really it's either learn to kick ass or don't eat for a week until I find another thing that Unkar Plutt will give me food for. So she's very thick-skinned. She grew up in a horrible, horrible place. Wow, I had another point, and it's completely evaporated from my mind here.
Anakin.
Yeah, Anakin flying the ship and saving the day. You're right, though. He had he picked up a lightsaber, he probably would not have fared well. He probably would have hurt himself with the lightsaber. I believe that when Rey was fighting Kylo Ren, at first it was a very one-sided fight. I believe Kylo Ren did have an advantage, but I think that the reason, and I could be wrong, this was just my interpretation of the scene, but I think that the reason she was able to kind of get an advantage over Kylo was because she tapped into not just the Force, but I believe she tapped into the dark side during that fight without really realizing that she did so, because all of her fighting was coming from a place of anger. You really saw that in her face. She was angry about it, and Kylo Ren was sensing the dark side and saying, hey, come here, let me train you. So the dark side is quicker, easier, more seductive, as Yoda teaches us. So for a first-time Force user, that's probably the first thing that's going to come knocking at your spiritual door. Is like, hey, I'm the dark side. You wanna buy some Force powers? And you
want to buy some death sticks?
Yeah. What do you want? I got lightning. I got choking. I got all kinds of stuff. Well, you want memory loss? I got memory loss, baby. I got your memory loss right here. So she's backed into a corner. Her friend, who like her first friend ever, is like potentially dead in the snow 12 feet away. she just watched Han Solo get murdered by this guy. She is just not in a good state of mind. She has had no real training to learn how to calm herself like somebody like Obi-Wan would have. So when she's backed into this corner, she's back in that Jakku survival mode where she's like a feral animal and she's cornered. She's like, okay, I'm going to fight like an animal now. And again, this is just how I interpreted that scene because there's very little dialogue in that scene. But I believe that the dark side kind of took over her for a second. And that's how she was able to overpower Kylo. Because remember, he got shot too. He was
yeah. Sure, yeah. No, yeah, absolutely. There's certainly reasons, perhaps, why she did some of these incredible things, but I think the fact is that she did them. Everything she almost tries in Force Awakens, she succeeds at. Like that's the reason why I think that she fits the definition of a Mary Sue. It's that she tries. She seemingly knows more about the Falcon than Han Solo does. She is a pilot who pilots the Millennium Falcon against TIE fighters for probably the first time, or at least what we can idea is the first time, and she's very successful in it. Sure, a couple tips from Finn helped her out a little bit, but she's maneuvering through a Star Destroyer. She's doing all this stuff, and she just successfully does it with little to no damage to the Millennium Falcon. Sure, there's some damage, but regardless. Next, like the fact that, perhaps Kylo Ren opened up something in her mind when he was doing that to her, but the fact is that within seconds there, even if he did open something up in her mind, she overpowers him. Somebody who has done something in the Star Wars universe that we'd never seen before in movies, stop a blaster bolt with his hand. She overpowers him. She overpowers him, proving that he, as somebody who's more than definitely had more training in I don't know if we can call him Sith, but regardless, in the dark side, and as a Force user than she does, at least from what we know at this point. That is our belief, and she overpowers him. She beats him, and not only in the Force battle between the two when she's locked up, but also in the lightsaber battle. Sure, yeah, he had her perhaps on the ropes or whatnot, but the fact that she beat him is the feat. Is the thing that she accomplished, regardless as to, yes, he was injured a little bit, perhaps. Mm-hmm. But regardless, the things that she does just fits I think, the definition of the Mary Sue. And I think that that's, in my opinion, the overwhelming point.
Okay, well, these are all pretty good points. If I have one concluding argument, I would say, to a point you made earlier about how possibly episode 8 we might see something that sort of gives us a clearer answer, like, oh no, she's not because now we learn this, or oh no, she is because of this. Mm-hmm. I believe that if The Force Awakens, if there was no such thing as Star Wars before 2015, and all of a sudden The Force Awakens came out and it was just one movie, I would agree. I would say, yeah, she's a little too good at all these things. However, because Force Awakens is A, part of an overall story, and B, part 1 of 3, I think it's much too soon to slap that label on Rey so quickly. That would be like reading 2 chapters of a book and then closing the book and reviewing the book and saying how the book was not very good because of this and that. Mm. You only read 2 chapters. For all you know, the end is completely different. So I think that to call Rey a Mary Sue at this point in time is sort of we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. We need to give her the benefit of the doubt and trust that this character is going to, if she hasn't already, win over our hearts when we learn what she's all about.
All right, so yeah, those are our opinions. What do you guys think in the comment section below?
Vote now.
Vote now.
Vote now.
Serenity now. No, I'm kidding.
Thanks so much, scumbags. We'll see you next time on Vote of No Confidence.
Hey, scumbags. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on our video. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rebel Scum Podcast, for all the latest videos.